He had a very well written speech right there. An English teacher, I'm a debate coach, and Gateway Church is full of shit. Hey, what's up, demons? So, if you are from the area where I live, you probably have heard of the big Gateway Church scandal. Now, Gateway Church is a massive megachurch in the Dallas area, and I actually remember when it was built. I remember it being built, how huge it was. It is so big that they have parking attendants that guide people in and out. It's a joke here. I've never really understood why people go to these mega churches, probably for the social events, I'm sure. But like I heard something that there was a joke, like somebody wanted their friend to go to church with them, and she was like, I'm not going to go to church with you, I'm an atheist. And then the friend was like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Like, it's just so ingrained in suburban Texas that you just go to church. Look, I went to church as a child, stopped going in high school, never went back. So I have already watched part of this. I watched it when it was. This is going to contain the apology from one of the church elders. I've already seen it. I am going to react to it not live. I'm going to react to it on my second viewing. And the opinion I formed of it firstly is it left me kind of confused. I am one of those people who kind of wants to see the worst in other people. But when something like this happens, when a 12-year-old girl is repeatedly molested and does not come out talking about the abuse for a number of 20 years, I don't know how many people knew about this. The rumor is that the elders knew, but they didn't know she was a child. Like, they knew Robert Morris was a sexual predator in his past. And I have a BookTube channel, Strange Mentality Paper. If you're involved in the BookTube sphere, you probably know about Fit to Be Read. You can look it up if you don't. I personally am not a friend of Fit to Be Read, but I know people who were good friends with him, and it turns out he was using his channel as a front for production of CSAM. So, I mean, I know that some people just like really don't know about this. And then he could have been looking upset because he was trying to, or he could have been ashamed. So we're going to watch it together right now, and I'm going to see if I can make up my mind. Oh, shit. Look how many people are there. There were protesters out there earlier in the day, but I personally did not see them. I was sitting on my butt in here. But has a lot of people showing up after all this. So that's the church elder. Let's see what he has to say. Already sniffling. Kind of young to be an elder. He looks, what, 45?
My name is Trey Wilbanks.
Hello, Trey.
And I'm here to speak to you on behalf of the Gateway Elders. I really wish.
He looks like an actor to me. Like, I don't know, he kind of looks like Jim from The Office. But I don't think that's who I had in my head.
That I could sit down with each one of you individually and talk to you one-on-one.
Okay.
Standing before you right now may be the most difficult thing I've ever had to do.
Well, you don't have to do it. Like, were you elected? Did you volunteer for it? Why are you doing this, Trey?
So I ask for your grace as I speak to you today, because I'm going to speak to you personally as a father, as a husband, and an on-staff elder since 2014. Okay,
so he's worked at Gateway for 10 years on staff. He's there. I don't know how much money this church makes. It's gotta be a lot. It's the one in South Lake is just huge, and I know for a fact they have other campuses. I was never like a huge critic of this church. I like to watch sermons and review them, as you guys know. Something about this pastor, I'm very sensitive to sound, and his voice annoyed me. So I don't watch sermons from this church very much. The church site that I kind of frequent with a pastor I don't like is Milestone Church in Keller. I tend to watch him.
I'm going to try to speak to you from my heart today. So I wrote my thoughts down to make sure I say exactly what I want to say.
Okay, so I could see people being like, well, if you're just going to speak from your heart, why did you have to write it down? As a teacher and just as someone who gives a lot of speeches, when you get up there, sometimes if you're not really prepared, you can forget to say certain things. And so it's best to write them down and read them. Now, obviously, I'm sure he's going to try to cover his bases here and make sure he doesn't get himself in hot water. I'm sure they're talking to a legal team at this time. But I mean, that's not completely disingenuous. I wrote everything down because I want to speak from my heart. I mean, that may not be why he wrote it down, but if you're giving a really impassioned speech and you want to make sure you cover all your bases, writing it down is a good idea. And then when you're up there, if you don't want to read something, you just don't have to read it. But it will ensure that you don't leave anything out.
My wife, Shelley, and I have 7 children, including 6 girls.
Dang, that's a lot of girls.
As a father, what has happened is extremely disturbing.
Okay, notice he doesn't tell us what has happened. What has happened is that Robert Morris, the pastor of this church, his victim came out saying that she was molested by him repeatedly when she was 12 back in the 80s.
And I'm experiencing a wide range of emotions like you. As an elder, I did not know the truth. And frankly, like so many of you, my wife and I are shocked, devastated, and grieving.
Okay, so his wording is really important here. I did not know the truth. So maybe what I've heard is true. Maybe he did know that Morris had sexual deviance. That's not the right word. It's sexual mistreat. What's the word I'm looking for? Sexual just misconduct in his past. And guys, this was 40 years ago. This was the 80s. This is a long time. So, I mean, Christians are taught to forgive and turn the other cheek. And just, you know what? 40 years is a long time, is all I'm going to say. That's long enough for somebody to change. But I kind of feel like this, like, it's just so hypocritical. Like, if you know somebody has something so nefarious in their past, they're leading this giant flock of gullible people, you should do something about it. So I tend to think that, yeah, they probably did know about his sexual misconduct. Because his wording says we don't know the truth, that's a very, very sly way of saying, of just being so vague, letting people make up their own mind. But because of his word choice, I do believe that he knew, but he did not know it was a child.
Firstly, I'd like to express my personal compassion.
Okay, so I'm leaving this marking for myself. He just said her name. I'm going to bleep it out.
I can't imagine carrying a burden like that for so many years. And I want to say to you, sorry. I'm also very sensitive.
All right, notice he's doing this thing with his face. His chin's not quivering. His eyes do look a little red. His voice isn't all choked up. So we'll see.
Anyone else in this room or anyone who is listening who's experienced abuse. I know that there are many in this room, at our other campuses, and many watching online.
Yeah, that's me. I am a victim of...
who have their own horrific abuse story.
Yep.
And I want to speak to you. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry.
I don't know.
I cannot imagine the pain and the emotions this past week has stirred inside of you as you felt betrayed. And on behalf of the elders.
Okay, that looked fake, that big sniffle, but I mean, his eyes are kind of watering. The mic's not shaking in his hand. He's not turning red. I don't know. I'm finding it kind of hard to read him.
We're sorry. This past week, the Board of Elders accepted the resignation of our senior pastor, Robert Morris. Our tagline at Gateway Church is, "We're all about people."
Why does a church need a tagline that's so, like, business focused? Oh, God. I don't recall where he went with this. Let's see where he goes.
And you can't be all about people if you aren't committed to protecting people.
Which is why you should have told someone.
We are committed to protecting people.
Then why didn't you say anything?
First and foremost, children and the most vulnerable.
Okay, so when he says the most vulnerable, he's meaning disabled people.
Simply put, abuse in any form cannot be tolerated.
Yet he didn't turn this guy in or expose him for his hypocrisy.
And we as elders have the responsibility to do whatever it takes to learn the truth.
Yes, you do.
And I want you to know that as your elders, we are deeply committed to walking in integrity and finding the truth. We moved quickly this week to hire an independent outside law firm to conduct a comprehensive and independent inquiry.
Okay, so notice he's using the word independent. This means someone not affiliated with the church. The problem with these legal situations like this, though, is this church is so huge and so influential in Texas, everybody's going to have an opinion about it. And right now, evangelicals may have more cases than the Catholic Church, but I mean, at least not here, because there's a lot of evangelicals. So those of you not familiar with evangelicals, just imagine a Catholic priest, an independent outsider. If you were an independent outsider going in to research sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, would you not have some presuppositions?
Into this entire situation, the elders and you must know the facts, and we must enforce accountability.
Yeah, so as he keeps going, this is really well written, and I think it's pretty clear by his words that he knew, but he didn't know he was a child. So if you see anything in the news coming out saying like the elders knew, they probably did, but to cover his ass, CYA, as we say in teaching, he probably didn't tell him it was a kid. So yeah, the elders definitely seem like they knew that their pastor was guilty of sexual misconduct.
Having this review completed by an independent outside organization is critical, and we will report back to you once their work is complete. And please know that the Board of Elders is fully cooperating with this independent work, which has already begun. And I ask,
it would be really stupid of you not to cooperate.
That we all be patient while we give them time to do their work.
Good words.
Now I want to get very personal, and I apologize if I get emotional.
Okay, so that's actually a very manipulative thing to say. I apologize if I get emotional, because now we're expecting him to get emotional. Good work.
As I said before, I'm a father of 6 girls, and this has been a difficult thing to explain to them this past week.
I'm sure.
And our family this past week, like all of you, has shed tears, had heavy conversations, and we've been in deep prayer.
Because that worked. You just said her name.
We prayed for her family. We've prayed for the entire Morris family. We're praying for you. And we're praying for our staff and our whole church family. Our family has been going to Gateway Church for 18 years.
I think with Christians, it comforts them to know that people are praying for him. So I think that's why he said it. Like, obviously it's not going to do anything, but I think he's just like trying to make the congregation feel better.
We go to Gateway Church not because of a building or a person.
Okay, so the problem with churches like these, and like Baptist churches too, is that they're very, very congregational, meaning that the congregation runs everything. So they do kind of develop cults around this one central figure. So that was a smart thing to say.
Our family goes to this church because we've seen the Lord move here.
See, his voice kind of hitched a little bit. I don't know.
Our family.
The words and the actions are not lining up is what I'm kind of saying. Like, he's already kind of primed us to be like, I'm going to be emotional here, and then he gets emotional. So I don't know. I'm skeptical as to whether this is genuine. I'm sure he's scared because I'm sure he did know, but didn't know it was a child. So he's probably scared out of his mind right now. So if he's crying, it's probably from fear.
Goes here because we're inspired by you in the work that you do to those who are in need and to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I honestly don't know how much work they do. I know they have a big Christmas pageant, and I know they have a lot of social events. But as far as like charitable organizations, like I'm sure they go out and volunteer places, but I haven't heard much about that nor seen it.
Our family goes here because of the deep relationships that we've formed with close friends who help us.
See, I kind of feel like that's the reason people go to megachurches, like empty nesters or people with little kids. It's like an extra school where everyone's supposed to be nice to everyone, and you get around and you make all your friends there.
Let's grow closer to Christ.
What does that even mean?
Our kids met Jesus here. Some of our kids have been baptized here.
Okay, at churches like this, so notice he said some of our kids, they, Baptist churches and churches in the Anabaptist tradition do not baptize infants. They see baptism very different from high church. High churches baptize infants to wipe away original sin and welcome them to the Christian family. And then like 10 years later, well, between 10 and 15 years later, depending on the church, you will confirm your baptism. You'll go through confirmation, which is where you become a full member of the church. You say, yes, I believe in Jesus, all of this stuff. You kneel, the pastor lays his hand on you, boom, you're confirmed, you're a full member of the church. I was 14. It's 14 in the Lutheran church, and it actually takes 2 years. But the Baptist, Anabaptist traditional version of that is just baptism. So normally kids get baptized like when they're like 8, 9, 10 area. And oftentimes these people will get baptized like 3 or 4 times. Like,
all of our kids have been transformed by the students' ministry. I'm aware that many in this room have seen their marriages saved because of the healing power of Jesus showing up in our marriage ministry.
Okay, I don't know much about those marriage ministry things, but I'm not married. I don't have much of a desire to get married because the idea of like being legally bound to someone and having to check with someone every time I like want to spend money or something kind of freaks me out. But those marriage ministries, put Christ in the middle of your marriage. It's annoying. It annoys me. And the clapping. I think they're rooting for him. Come on, get through the speech.
Many in this room have overcome depression and iniquity because of Kairos.
I don't know what Kairos is.
And many of us have made it through unthinkable and painful circumstances because of our grief ministry.
Yeah, he's not crying. So the thing about, I often say, is that religion is not a substitute for grief counseling. But these grief ministries, I don't know how they work. I've never gone to one. But processing your grief is something good. But I don't like that people are like, you will get to see your loved ones again. Because you won't. When you're dead, you're done. And you need to learn how to accept that when someone you love dearly dies.
The future.
Replacing your loved one with this nebulous Jesus figure, that's not good.
Of our church. frankly, this past week, I've just been trying to get through each day.
Poor you.
And there are a lot of unknowns. The truth is, I don't know what God's plans are. But I know that I'm going to continue to worship the Lord.
Woohoo! There are so many people there. Gosh.
And I'm going to worship the Lord in this place.
I mean, what kind of crazy fanatic do you have to be to go to the first church service after your pastor is exposed as being a child molester? All right, then because I'm going to continue to do it here. Bro, you've got 7 kids. Where the hell else are you going to go, man? It's like you got to uproot your wife and your 7 kids, take them out of the school. It's like, yeah, you're staying. Of course you are. You're not going to move a family of friggin' 9 in the middle of summer with nowhere else to go. What, you're going to lose your job? You probably gets paid a whole lot. Come on, man.
Jesus said, I will build my church. I want to remind you, this is his church. This is Jesus's church.
All right, that's actually a good message to take the emphasis off the pastor, because like I said, there is a big cult of personality built around this, and the product these guys are selling is Jesus, so let's move it back onto Jesus. That's pretty smart. That's a good thing to do in a speech.
And the elders are humbly and firmly submitted to what he wants to do with this church. I believe the Lord built Gateway Church.
I mean, no, the Lord did not. Contractors and people built the church, and God's not going to do anything with the church. The elders and the people still going there are going to do something with the church. It's just annoying.
And I believe that the Lord worked through all of you to build Gateway Church.
Well, Gateway Church is like 25 years old, so I don't know how many of those people were there at the beginning when the church was built. And I've actually also heard that these megachurches, their memberships are really, really short because people sort of get disillusioned with them. Obviously not this guy. He's been there for 18 years.
He worked through our altar ministry.
Don't know what that is.
He worked through our marriage ministry.
Hate that.
He worked through our children's workers.
Whoa, hold on. Children's workers? What? What?
He's worked through our prophetic ministry.
Oh God, no. If that means like prophets making predictions, please tell me no.
He's worked through our parking attendants.
See, it's so
He's worked
big.
through our greeters.
It's so big. They have to have parking attendants.
He's worked through the staff and all of the volunteers at Gateway Church. So my encouragement to you today is to take these upcoming days, weeks, months, and turn your hearts to our Lord and Savior.
I mean, it's church. That's what they really should be doing anyway.
Let us remember Jesus' specific commands, that we love the Lord our God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our mind, all of our strength, and that we love others.
Yeah, because the Bible kind of does say to love thy neighbor, and that's not the kind of love that Robert Morris was going with.
This is our important responsibility, to follow the Lord Jesus regardless of the season, mountain or desert.
Yeah, there is the book of Ecclesiastes. There's also that song, Turn, Turn, Turn. There's a really, really good cover of that song that was on American Horror Story. And so they say, Lord, for everything there is a season. Well, right now it's summer and things are hot. You are in hot water.
And I believe he will lead us together through this. I'm clinging to the word of God.
Well, I mean, yeah, people aren't going to leave. There's people so deep into this, like that church is not going to collapse. It's just not. And even that pastor has his fangirls and everybody who's going to stick by him because, I mean, that's just what happens in these situations. They're so entrenched, like the Catholic Church. Like, there are still priests, there are still Catholics. Like, this Gateway Church is like pretty big. I don't know how many members they have, but it's well over 10,000 because they meet at different locations. So this whole entire church could be its own denomination. Go away.
God, right now, his word is a lamp unto my feet. He will never leave us or forsake us. He is near to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. And he sat enthroned in the flood.
I thought that was Noah.
We're praying for you all. We love you. We appreciate you, and we're thankful that you're here today. May I pray for you?
No. So I have a feeling he's going to close. Yeah. So this prayer is closing out his speech. Were his emotions genuine? No. I feel like he's very emotional because I think he's terrified. Like, he's really scared what's going to happen to him. Like, who wouldn't be? But he had a very well-written speech right there. Did he write it himself? I don't know. But whoever wrote it chose those words very, very wisely. I'm an English teacher. I'm a debate coach. And Gateway Church is full of shit. So this is my reaction to his apology. Clearly the guy knew. The guy knew. Did he know she was 12? No. And I think he's worried that, like, he's worried about what's going to happen to him. So that's it, Dusty Demons. I will go in and edit this a little bit. So we'll see how this pans out. As I said, this hits really close to home, like less than 5 minutes away. So that being said, stay skeptical.